Before we start, though, let me introduce Jeff Sigmund, my colleague and friend.
Hello. Thank you, Tom. Tom's the only one that ever applauds, so
don't encourage him. Okay.
So Tom and I have different styles. You'll see this deck is I never present in PowerPoint. I always present in Notepad because I feel a developer must not use PowerPoint. So as we go through the deck, I challenge you to tell which slides are mine and which are his.
Won't be able to know.
I don't think you'll know.
Yeah. Oh, and this is your casual title, right?
This is my casual title.
Yeah. A little less formal.
You can put whatever you want on your card at Microsoft, so I go crazy with it.
So how many of you have used SCM, the Security Compliance Manager? Let's get an idea, those in the room.
Used it, all right.
Used it?
How about heard of it?
How about heard of it? A few more, good. How many of you have read or used one of our security guides, like maybe XP or Vista security guide?
So about the same, nope, more than that I've heard of it, okay.
A few more, yeah, that's good. Solution Accelerators is a great team for us to work on. We have the ability to be advocates for all of our customers. Everything we do today is centered around these sort of three core areas, and we provide tools that help you in each one of those. We're going to talk about the Security Compliance Manager today, but I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard of the Deployment Toolkit. How many have heard of that one?
MDT.
MDT.
Oh man, that's kicking SCM's butt. Look at that.
We got to change that.
Yep, we're going to change that.
And then the Assessment and Planning Tool, helping you prepare and assess for migration. So core areas that, as Solution Accelerators team, we get to help out. So our team was formed approximately 10 years ago. I don't have the exact date.
That's about right.
About right. But we were formed out of some difficulties that customers were running into. It was really around configuration of their servers and the ability, or the lack of ability, to continue to support them. So they'd call support with something wrong with the server, and support would not be really able to fix or to help.
They would be in an unsupported configuration.
Unsupported
right?
configuration. So our team was formed to go through, analyze, and create the security guides. That's where we started out. And over the years, after publishing these 300-page guides, nobody wants to read, nobody wants to sit down and use, we've progressed to where we provide tools. So there were things along the way, like the Solution Accelerator.
Right. Well, we had GPO Accelerator.
GPO Accelerator, yeah.
There you go, Tom. You blanked out.
Yeah.
He's going to do that several other times.
Because I'm the formal one.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to focus on the Security Compliance Managers. We've come all the way from all those old guides with lots and lots of text and things you had to read and sit down and manually go through and configure a machine, to now where today that guide is still there, but it's more of just an attachment. It gives you description of features and goes into other material, but it's not as intended to be used. It doesn't get used as much. The tools now have become very important.
So the way I think of it is, in the old world, when we just released 300-plus page guides, all static content. Then we started adding, okay, we'll give you a GPO. Still static. And you wanted to change that GPO. I heard from a customer yesterday on the show floor, the thing that SCM gives him is he takes our GPO, and instead of just dropping it in, now he can bring it into the tool that we're going to talk about today, and he can compare what did he do to it, because he forgot. He went into GP Edit, changed 80 things, and went, oh, what did Microsoft actually recommend on that value? I changed my mind. I'm not sure about it.
Where did I start?
And so no way to do that in the old world. We just gave you a static GPO. Yep. So that's when we went, we need a tool.
So when we talk about Security Compliance Manager, we talk about, today we're going to talk about these four key areas. Security Compliance Manager is a tool that provides recommendations, configuration recommendations, knowledge, as well as the guidance and automation that we've talked about. So being able to automate and deploy with automated tools. All with the purpose of helping you to migrate, to deploy, to create custom configurations, and to monitor compliance, or have a way to verify. So we just made it simple. Come in and call it learning, customizing, exporting, and verifying. As I said, we're not going to do a lot of slides, so hopefully we don't put you to sleep with slideware. We're trying to avoid that. Jeff's going to do several demos today, and as we go through each of these topics, We'll show you the functionality that relates to that. We'll show you how customers are using the tool and some of the new features in it. So we'll start off with...
All right.
I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe.
So this is my slide. So who is this guy? Does anybody know? Django. Almost right. Django.
Django.
So what does Django FET have to do with SCM? Absolutely nothing. But I thought it was a great way to... What did they do with Django FET? Does anybody know? So they did that. The cloners did that with his DNA. Good answer. If I had a T-shirt, I would throw it to you.
You're really going to tie this all into Star Wars?
Our tool, so I'm a developer on the team, and I'm thinking about Star Wars as I'm developing it, Tom. I don't know what you're thinking about.
All right.
So
I want to hear this then.
All right. So Tom mentioned that we've been talking about we have knowledge. And so the tie-in officially with Django is that his DNA was knowledge. They wanted to take his blueprint and do something with it. So I'm going to launch me over to C. All right, this is my developer machine with a version of SCM running. And if any crashes happen, I will be doing live debugging. All right, so let's launch her. First, I want to show you what this is our release version of the tool. I forgot to do this.
Yeah, you're not
so this is what's out there today. This is
show
1.0. I've been told, I'll give you some brief quotes. The one I love is, this is a 1980s UI. That's one of my favorite ones. So that's my fault.
You're going to take full responsibility
I'll
for that?
take it. So in 2.0, as we talk about this, we're not going to talk about 1.0 too much because the demo today is going to be showing you 2.0. What we have on the web, we have a CTP release of 2.0 now that you can go and grab. We'll show you, it's posted on the blog. You can go download it from Connect. But everything in 1.0 we took forward into 2.0. We didn't drop any features, we only added. And as we hit a feature that we added, I will embellish.
Can I talk about knowledge?
Absolutely.
Before you go forward?
Absolutely.
Do it.
Go, dude.
All right, so when we talk about knowledge, one of the things that I think is really key for everybody as an IT pro, every time a new product comes out, new server OS, a new client OS, a new version of Exchange, if you don't have tools that give you that knowledge, what do? You end up setting up your own test area, you set up your own proof of concept, and you're going to go through this process of gaining the knowledge that we're trying to wrap up in a tool here and give you. So we go through that process using our expertise within the product groups and using external MVPs who have that expertise and combine that and pull it together so that your time to get to deployment and get to migrate from one version to another is cut down.
Could you make that sound a little sexier? I would have done that. Oh, okay, I'll keep going.
Yeah, you could.
All right, let's get rid of 1.0. So here's 2.0. Now I'm still working on this middle bit. Don't judge. Right now it's just text. I'm going to do some pretty pictures. And all these links now work in the middle.
Are going to be pictures of you?
No pictures of me.
All right.
Those are now disallowed. Okay, so knowledge. I'm going to take your attention and direct it over here. I'll use Mark's tool. So this is a tree view control where the knowledge lives. And when the knowledge first comes in, it's read-only knowledge from Microsoft. So it's your base. You can consider it. Here's what Microsoft recommends. It's always read-only in the tool. You can't do anything to it other than get it in and delete it as you so choose. So I wanted to kind of touch the surface on what we have today. So there's the products we have today. There's one missing. The one missing that we have released. Let's see if, the internet's working. So the one releasing I don't have installed is Windows Server 2003. The reason I didn't install that is simply to show you that the tool can go out to the internet. It will go to the Microsoft Download Center. You do not have to know we released a new baseline. It will simply appear. You can turn this feature off if you don't want it to contact the internet. By default, it's on, but a lot of people run SCM not on an internet live network like the Department of Defense or people like that. And so you can do a manual. So if you look over here on the right.
That was my question. Can I save this?
Thank you for withholding that question because all you had to do is give me a little time.
Just jumping into it.
All right. Okay. Tom and I are friends. So
Most of the time.
get knowledge into the tool. So we have, this is the automatic. This pops up the UI I just showed you over here. Don't get motion sickness. I'll try to go slow. This is a URL to a website where you can manually get the cab files. So these are shipped in signed cab files. Inside that cab file is the whole product of baselines. So if a product, Windows 7, has 8 baselines, they'll all be in a cab and they're signed. When they come into the tool knows they're signed by Microsoft, so they should be coming to the tool read-only. Does that make sense? Okay. So these are the way to get them yourself manually. So if you wanted to burn them to a disk and take them into a secure network, you could get them here. The link previously was not in the tool. You had to go and search the internet. So now I put it right there. The other way to do it is if you have them on your disk already, you can import a baseline right off your disk through this little wizard. And here's the one that did not exist until February.
Very recent.
Very recent. So you can now, so the number one thing I heard since SCM 1.0 shipped in April 2010 was, Jeff, our content, my configuration knowledge lives in one place, and that's Active Directory. How can I compare with your baselines if I can't get my knowledge out of Active Directory into this tool? This tool's not as useful to me. So we went, okay, you're right. So now you can take a GPO backup. So you go into the GPMC, you back up your GPO objects, and you can bring it into SCM. So I'll just quickly do that. I have one here on my desktop. You see, if you've ever done a GPO backup, you recognize that this is a long GUID that is a lovely, friendly kind of title. So you name it. Oh gosh. So what that's doing right now is if you've ever looked at a GPO backup, it's a couple XML files, a directory structure that looks like sysvol, and then the template INFs, all the poll files, all the stuff that's in a GPO. So we go and read the XML files. We figure out what makes up this GPO. We then go and parse the INF, the polls, all those things. And anything we can't parse. So let's say, has anybody heard of a group policy template? Okay, so we don't parse those. But what we do is we store them so that if you import your GPO into this tool and then you export it back out, which I'll show you in a few more slides, that we don't throw away your data. So your GP templates will still be in there. Your, what is it, Jose? ADM files also matter. Yeah, we don't parse comment files or ADM files either. Preferences, right? But you were looking at your phone. I already said that one. So we try to keep. You can't
give him a hard time.
No, I got to give him a hard time. So we try to keep all the things. The point of that is we don't throw away the stuff that we know you care about, but we can't parse and show in the tool. Okay, so now under the custom baselines area, you'll see that a new one got added that I just imported. And you'll see that this is a separate area of the tree view, where this is where the Microsoft baselines live, and that content. And then things that you want to change appear here. So the reason why that one didn't import is because I had already tried to customize this one, so I already had a duplicate name. Okay, so did I go too fast, or does everybody get kind of where we're going?
What do you think about the GPO import?
Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
a couple thumbs up. Go ahead.
If we have custom settings and group policies, would they be imported as well?
Yes, good question. Let's say you had an Adobe, XYZ, whatever. It will come into the tool. What? Oh, what it?
Adobe.
Okay, let's say you have a Skype setting. Right now, Skype isn't in GPO. It probably will be one day. Yeah. So what it would do is we have a category called additional settings. You cannot edit them in the tool because we don't know. I can explain why later. But we don't know enough about it to let you edit it in this as a high fidelity setting. I call it high fidelity. Anything that we know about, high fidelity. Anything we don't, we try to show it to you if we can, but you can't edit it. And if it's like something like a group policy preference or an ADM, we hide it, but it's on the disk, and then when you export, it comes back out. All right.
So when people talk to you, do they really say, Jeff?
Yes.
Just like that?
When somebody says in an email, like, why don't you do GPO import? I can hear it in their voice. Upset with us.
Got it.
All right, roll on. Question?
Question?
Nothing's impossible in software, but continue. Sorry. So you can import, yes.
Yes.
But you're getting ahead of me. Come on, let me get there. Let me get there. I can't give it all to you in one shot. I got to have some drama.
All right, let's see what's next in the Star Wars saga. Customizing?
All right. So I spent an hour in a coffee shop in Seattle attempting to find a sound that I could play for this slide, and I could not find a single sound that was appropriate. I should have done the Imperial Death March or something, but anyway. Okay, so the point of this is, what did they do with Django? They took his DNA, they stripped out all the things that were not appropriate for the environment that these clones were going into, right? So you can see a parallel there with Microsoft Guidance, where we tell you values, but let's say half of them don't apply to you. Okay, fine. Ignore those. Set them to what you want, or delete them. So they did that with Django. They turned him into a loving little child who was very friendly. And these guys, they start to look more disgruntled as they get older. All right.
So that's the tie into customization.
Yes.
Right?
Well, the cool thing, Tom, is that, as you know, people don't typically use 100% of what we recommend.
Right.
It's a baseline. You start with it.
It's a starting point.
Yes. I think we hear somewhere on the line of 5 to 10% adding or subtracting or changing happens. Customizing
Changing
happens.
value. Yeah.
So let's show it. All right. So I just want to do a little patting on the back here.
Who's?
Mine. Let me show you, let me refresh your memory of what this looks like in V1. So check this out. So this middle bit, these are groups of settings, and here's settings. And then as your eyeball scrolls down, you have this thing called a definition tab, which, by the way, is I'm picking on myself here, by the way. This tab is the third tab over, and this is where you change stuff, right? So a lot of the feedback we got, like when I had a long talk with NATO, and NATO sits in this tool for hours at a time and changes 50 things. And he goes, you make my eyes hurt when I use it. And I go, okay, got it.
Got the feedback.
Got it. All right, so let's go into 2.0. And I want to show you quickly that if you go into a read-only baseline, so let's go into one from Microsoft that's read-only. And can I get I wanted some reactions as I'm... Okay, who's doing that? Thank you. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, so let's look at one. Oh, why are these? Oh, these are all blank. Interesting. So you can't change anything about these, but you can see information about the setting. I actually have a little bug. Check out the bug, dude. So wait, let me go to... I have a bug see, when you first went into it, you didn't see this stuff on the left. I've got a bug. Yeah. Okay, so you can still see the knowledge about a setting. See all this stuff, which I'll dig into later. We'll go into what is all down here. But you can't change anything about it. So if I go into the non-read-only area, I'm going to go back up here on the... Oh. Hold on, let me see the stack trace. Generic dictionary value. Move next. Uh-oh. That's not my code. So, it crashed.
It would never be your code.
Oh, dude. Okay, I'll have to set a breakpoint on that one. All right. What's cool is you just hit F5 and the world comes back. All right, don't do that in the demo again. Okay, this is not a read-only baseline. This is what you do. I'll just show you real quickly. You go to a baseline, and let's take this one. So this is Win 7, Specialized Security, Limited Functionality, User Baseline 1.0. And you click a little button over here. This is where you're Djangoing. You're doing a Django FET of the baseline. You say duplicate. So that is a clone. Haha. You clone the baseline. You hit save, and I'll unzoom. Then what it does is it pops up into the top left-hand tree view where now it's an editable object. And so you can go up there.
So now I can customize.
Right.
Right?
That's what I was trying to get to.
Okay.
So, whoops, I just clicked the wrong thing. So you'll see the value here. So what this is telling you, account lockout duration. Microsoft is recommending that to be 15. And you can say, Microsoft, you are incorrect for my environment. That should be a different value. Oh, and that should be 5. And so when you change that value, it's now committed to the, I didn't mention, but this is on top of SQL. On my particular machine, this is SQL Express. In 2.0, we now allow you to do any version of SQL you want. In 1.0, you had to use SQL Express, and you had to install it when we were installing the tool, which caused, okay, I see a smile. That caused, I have an email once a week on that. So now the tool will say, okay, you've already got SQL, fine.
Point it
to it.
Point it to it.
Okay, so I just changed that to 5. I changed this to 5. I changed this to 5 because I'm original. And you'll see that the tool is bolding. Whoops, a little click happy. The tool is bolding the rows that you changed from Microsoft's recommendation. The only reason to do that is just to give you a visual indicator. And I'm going to show you another part of the tool a little bit later called compare. You'll see it right over here. The value of that is you go, what did I do to this thing, and what was it? Okay, so that is customization. Tom,
Very cool.
take her away.
One of the key things we also wanted to talk about as we develop this tool is very important for us to be able to export. I mean, you've got this knowledge now. You've been able to go through, customize that to the values that match in your environment, that make the most sense, that make that trade-off and balance between usability and functionality. We didn't want to be the tool that actually is deploying settings like group policy or checking settings like configuration manager. So we export in multiple formats. We support the SCAP format, Security Content Automation Protocol. So there's several formats. They're different. We even talked about some of these this morning. Like you can actually export your own CAB. So same format that SCM recognizes and uses in the tool. If you've got a baseline you want to share with someone else, you can export that CAB file. They can import it. It shows up in SCM for them. Right. So easy to pass along. I know a lot of people used to work in spreadsheets. You know, you'd keep all your information about your settings there. And we still allow you to export those types of, that data that goes into a spreadsheet. So you still have access if you need to document and keep that history, put it somewhere external from the tool. You can still do that export. So what are you going to show us?
Well, why don't we surprise them? Okay. Wait, you got to show it, dude. You didn't show it. Advance the slide.
Oh, the one I found?
Yeah. All right.
Don't move, Jedi.
All right. That's one of my favorite ones right there. So you can see they're leaving. They're marching out. They got out of their helmets, and they've kept themselves in orderly lines, and now they're going out. They're marching. So besides just seeing what Microsoft recommends, obviously the key value is getting the stuff out of this tool. Go ahead. See.
You're ready.
Man, I got to stay on you. All right, so I'll direct your attention to the right-hand side. So Tom mentioned Excel spreadsheets. This is the world that people like. If you don't even want to view it in the tool because you find Excel better, you can literally export it to Excel. The data that we're hiding in the UI, you get some stuff that is even additional to what makes sense in a UI. So you can print these things. People ask, hey, how do I print your grid? The greatest way to print the grid, I haven't added print support. I could. But the easiest way is to export it to Excel, and you can print in Excel. You can hide columns. You can sort it however you want. And a lot of people still work in that. So the one I'll show you real quick is, and you'll hopefully find this fairly painless, you simply say, I did a GPO export. You point, where do you want it to go? Boom. So now you have the kind of how I was describing it before. You have a GPO backup of that baseline with your changes in it. And it went instantly GPO. So you would bring this into GPMC, and you can then roll with it. And if I dig into this a little bit, you'll see that we put the INF in there. the secedit INF. And the values that I changed to 5, you'll see right there, if you can see that.
There you go.
So you can tell it's real quick. And then if you tie it together with what I showed you in the import, you can take, you can truly take things in your Active Directory. You can import it into the tool. You can change them, then get them back out, and then you can import them back if you want at a later time. And you can keep doing that. You can iterating. You can take. I've heard from people that they'll take a snapshot of what's in there today, and they just want to store it here, and then they can continue to check that. Any questions? The guy who told me he threatened me that he was going to leave if it wasn't interesting. Are you leaving? No, go ahead.
I have a question about the tool for customizing a policy outside of the baseline standard. If we want to add elements to it because the policy doesn't exist,
Okay.
instead of using something like outside of that, like Full Arbor or something, is there any way to integrate that within the
Can you give me one example of something like that?
Sure. For example, zone maps.
Zone maps.
If you use the standard zone map policy, it locks it down for internet zones, internet zones.
Okay.
And I don't want it to lock it down. I want to enforce policy, but I also want users to be able to put stuff in there.
So are you telling me you have a particular pattern in the registry you want to appear, you want that in these files, and you want to know what this tool would do to those? Is that?
Or if there's a way I can integrate it to get it in there.
So actually, the greatest way to do it is you take a GPO backup with it done, you bring it into the tool, we will bring it in, and if we don't know how to parse it, let's say it's in a format that doesn't line up to what we expect. You know what an ADMX file is? So we parse all the ADMX files in Windows and build a database that's sitting in this tool. We match the GPO import to that list, and then we create high-fidelity objects in the setting database that this UI runs on top of. So if we do not know what to do with it, we'll put it in additional settings, and you won't be able to change it, but we'll preserve it. And if we don't do that, it's a bug. So my ask to you...
Is it your code?
Yes. So,
All right.
thank you, Tom.
I just said yes.
So I will show you the URL if you, you can go to our blog, get the CTP, import your GPOs, and then email us. Tell us. And so we would consider that a bug if it didn't. Okay. All right. Yes?
So, have you copied the GPO? I think you said version 1.0 or whatever, right? With that. So do you do iterative version?
We, on the GPO object itself that comes out?
Yeah, you copied it, right? It says copy of Win 7, just gave it 0.0.
I think.
Oh, you mean...
You want to repeat the question?
Okay, so do we version... Are you talking about do we version the objects in this tool?
Yeah.
You can. You can version these objects. You can also, I didn't show you the feature, but you can lock the object. See this verb over here?
Yeah.
You can make it read-only. And then you can dupe it and create a 1.1. Aaron, you're at the mic.
Yeah, I just wanted to request anybody who wants to ask a question if they could come to the microphone so that he doesn't have to repeat, so he doesn't have to remember to repeat the question, and for the purpose
Aaron,
of people listening to the recording.
He has
Aaron,
short-term memory.
Aaron, could you get a wireless and just walk around for me, man? Could you Phil Donahue it? Yeah. See, I've always wanted to put Aaron to work.
All right.
I always wanted to put Aaron to work. I've never been able to do it.
I'll have to carry the entire microphone stand because they don't have a wireless.
Oh, darn. I think it was a good idea. All right, Tom, all you. That was.
All right. That was the
Well, I didn't show them. The only thing I didn't show them was exporting SCM cab.
There you go.
So SCM cab, why the heck would you want to do that? So I just clicked on right here, SCM cab. So if you are trying to share a baseline with someone else running SCM, this is one of the ways to do it. You could also give them a GPO backup and have them import it themselves. The cab is a great way to bring the attachments along. I haven't shown you attachments yet, but we still produce security guides. So if you want all this stuff to go along with it, the only way to do that is in the cab. You could, theoretically, so I don't know if anybody's heard of DISA. Okay.
Oh, I know some have.
Some people are shaking their head. So I'm encouraging DISA. Is anybody in the room from DISA? Okay. I'm encouraging DISA to, today you can go up there and get USGCB stuff. You can get GPO backups. I'm encouraging them to take SCM cabs, sign those cabs with DISA's cert. And when you bring it into SCM, it'll say DISA, this is from DISA, it's signed by DISA. Here's their baseline for PFU. So that is one of the uses of letting the cab format. The cab format is, we have an XML document in there. It describes what the baseline is. It's kind of a cool way to carry this content around in our format. Okay. Tom.
All right. All right, so you've got your baseline, you've done all your customizations, you've used the knowledge that was important for you to be able to decide what you wanted to do, you had an understanding, and I think you're going to go into some more details on
I was
knowledge aspect, because I think we skipped a couple.
We did. I was very brief.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go into those more important ones. But now, after you've pushed a baseline out, you want to go be able to verify that and make sure that your standards hasn't drifted. To make sure that what you expect to be in your environment is now being returned, and you can use that information to start to analyze your compliance and how you're complying with standards that you expect or that your business is required to adhere to. So, what else are you going to show?
Well,
I want to show you something.
Well, what we want to show next is we want to show, yes, you can. Tom, next slide.
I knew you'd like that.
You're off my Facebook, dude.
You may dispense with the pleasantries, Commander. I'm here to put you back on schedule.
He's off my Facebook. All right, so I'm just going to keep rolling. This is the Imperial inspection. Consider these clones, and the Emperor and Darth are coming to inspect the troops. You want to make sure that your stormtroopers did not drift from when you designed them. So you can imagine
what you want them to do.
Yes,
Right?
they better be doing what you told their genetic code to do.
They better be back on schedule.
Right. So in the old world, when Tom was starting the presentation, we talked about the old world was static. So GPO Accelerator gave you a GPO. We would then ship in a zip file a DCM pack. Has anybody heard of SCCM DCM? So
Quite a few.
Config Manager, Desire Configuration Management, right? It's the tool that if GPOs is set, DCM is a Git. It will give you a report against a set of assets, what is in their config, and then you can get reporting. So we would give you both these objects, a GPO and a DCM. And the minute you go into password policy and change the minimum password length to 12, and Microsoft recommends 10, the DCM pack has 10, you've set 12, and it shows variance. That's because we gave you static content, not live content in a tool, and those things were never in sync. Okay, C.
Drifted. Huh?
C, please.
C.
All right, so if you look on the right, I'm going to zoom in again. We have SCCM DCM 2007. So this is the 2007 version of SCCM. It simply puts the same stuff that's in the GPO in a format that is a Git. So it creates a cab. And if you go and look at that cab, if you open this XML, that is the DCM digest format that is processed by DCM. Now, the cool thing about this, if you think about it, until this tool, is anybody from the SCCM team in the room? No? Okay. Until this tool,
No, we had a
I thought we did too. Until this tool, there was no way to take an 80 GPO and turn it into a DCM pack from Microsoft. There was no way to do it. Now, you can take stuff out of your AD, export it to GPO backup, and then get a DCM pack for that GPO. And then you can check drift. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, thank you. Thank you. There was no way to do that with a Microsoft tool ever until this. Okay, thank you. We'll take that. Okay, Vince.
The only way I can check drift is with SCCM. Is there another way? Do I have to have SCCM is my question? Check drift.
So to repeat the question, is SCCM DCM the only way to check drift? Good question. Well, what I was about to show was a format called SCAP. The definition of that, Tom mentioned it, is Security Content Automation Protocol. Has anybody in the room ever heard of this?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
good.
Okay, good.
More than I thought.
So this is the format where if you're in a defense industry, this is the format that you must use to run scans. And we take all of our knowledge and publish it in this format as well. So you can use any SCAP certified tool to parse these output. And we put it out in a cab. And unfortunately, we're thinking about changing that because most tools in SCAP require a zip. So what you have to do is you take it out of the cab, put it in a zip, and then it works usually. So what will happen is any SCAP compliant tool, and SCCM 2007 is an SCAP compliant tool. We helped get that certified, our team. And that will parse that content and then scan a machine and then get a report. So there are, I don't know of any other way from Microsoft to do, Vince, other than those two methods. You could, I'm sure you could take an AD, maybe a third-party product would take a GPO backup and generate some kind of file that would let you check it.
Right. Well, you know, the problem is I work with a lot of small agencies. It gets SCCM stood up is a big deal
Right.
for small.
Yeah.
So he's saying that the cost of SCCM, just the getting it deployed, is sometimes a barrier, and that may hold back the value. So Jose, you were going to say something? Okay. Okay. So that was verified. That was check. That's the check
That's the
aspect.
check set,
Yep.
right? Set check. Are you done?
Done.
All right, so Jeff has shown a lot of the, I'll call them the great standard features that everybody knows about if they're using the tool. We wanted to spend a little bit of time now going into a little more depth. There's some other tools that maybe some of you aren't aware of, even though you've used SCM. We want to show those. We also want to show some of the other features and functionality. Actually, you've mentioned a couple of them,
I
like
have.
the merge, the compare. We're making some improvements there, so those are important features as well because it gives you that ability to go and manage your baselines and know when you've got one that you've saved,
Right.
that you know where it came from, and you can compare against Microsoft, so you can go back and see what changed, what did I change, why did I change it.
So we're gonna dig in a little bit. Feel free to. I actually don't mind if I go too fast or I skip something. Just ask, as long as we don't, as long as it doesn't go out of control. We'll have a Q&A at the end if okay. So I'm going to show you. Go ahead to C. Thank you. I want to show the one I'm most proud of first.
Wait a minute. Is it because you coded it?
No, actually, I didn't code this one.
All right.
It's because this is, I get an email twice a week on this particular one.
You don't want the
So the number one thing, if you've ever used 1.0, anybody who's raised their hand, what was the first thing you probably hit when you wanted to change a baseline? Does anybody hit? What was the first pain you felt with the tool? Anyone that ran it? No, that's not that painful. That's just hidden. All right, I'll just give it to you. Adding a setting. Adding or deleting a setting was extremely painful. In fact, you could not add a setting. You're shaking your head? Okay. There's no way. So if we see this baseline has 10 things in it, or 9. So there's no way to say, so even though this is Windows 7, I want to add 3 things from IE8 in it. There was no way to do that. The way we gave it to you is you could do a merge. You could take an IE8 baseline, you could take a Windows 7 baseline, smash them together, and make them the same object in the tool. That was the way we did it. But what if you just wanted one setting? You had to do that process. So we added, in 2.0, add a setting. So this UI, you start with a product, any product that's installed, and you filter by the product. And then you can also filter by the baseline. So actually, I'll keep with my example, IE8. And then I'll say, and then you have the UI path that it's in, account lockout policy. And now you can add settings to the baseline. So that takes something out of our setting database and puts it into the baseline. And I'll click add. This will be fun. I haven't done this on my machine in a couple builds. Oh. This means there's a stored procedure in our DB that I do not have. So that is not going to work. All right, I'm sorry. Trust me.
It's real.
Trust me, in my office it works. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you went to
We do. I said it wrong.
That's where it
We,
actually
that
comes
is
from.
actually what we do. We have a DB
Yeah.
where we I was being brief, but you're right. That is exactly what we do. So at Microsoft, we take all the ADMXs, we boil them down, we take all the dupes out. We then put them in a DB that when you install SCM, it's on your disk already. Even if there's no content in the tool, we have that DB in the tool. So then when you hit add a setting, it goes to that database and has all the ADMX files in there. Does that, okay.
Yep.
That was that just made sense to us, so that's what we did. So we do have an ADMX, go ahead.
There's a way to update
Oh man, this guy's good.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah, he's going through
so see this part of the tool here. So remember I showed you this earlier? When we have we call it the SCM setting library. I came up with that name. And we will have updates to the library that will update that entire area. So when when IE9, when we have an IE9 baseline, you'll get a new setting library, and it'll have that stuff, and you'll see it through the update mechanism of the tool. And we're going to do it all in one shot. It's so small. It's about 3,000 rows, but it's so tiny that we're going to keep giving you the entire thing. We're not going to do deltas just to save it. We don't want to do the engineering of deltas. Good question. Awesome.
Yeah. You've got
Uh,
another one.
Okay, so you can now delete a setting. I'll just show you how fun that is, because I like it. You can just go, I don't care about reset, account lockout, and I want that out of my baseline. Gone. Okay, let's go in and compare. By the way, Tom, remind me if I skip something.
I'm trying to keep my eye on you.
All right, so let's do compare. Let's check out, so this was called, the one I'm in is called Windows 7 Enterprise Configuration Domain. So let's see, I ran a compare, and it's showing me that here's Microsoft's on the right, here's mine, and you'll see those things I changed from, actually the spacing on this is really ugly. I'll have to fix that. 50 went to 5, 15 went to 5. And then I deleted a setting that I modified. It actually should show me that. Yes. So this identifies, this setting, reset account lockout, exists in Microsoft's baseline, but it does not exist in mine. Little awkward? How should it look? I love this. All right, fair enough. All right, I'll take that. The compare wizard, I'll admit to you right now, this is the same compare wizard from 1.0. I have not done anything to this yet. It's kind of painful to look at. I'm embarrassed to show it to you, but there it is.
What's the plan?
The plan
What's
is
the
the plan would be that someone's first reaction is, what the heck are you telling me? That would be the goal, that they don't do that.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
All right, so that's
What
compare.
else are you going to show us?
I'm going to show you merge.
Okay.
So there's less need for merge now that we have added and delete a setting, but you can still do it. I can still say, I want to put the EC user baseline. Let's pick another one. Oh, that's fine. I'll mix user and domain. So what I'm doing is taking domain, taking user, merging them in together, and it'll create a new object that's the union of those two. And this wizard is also the same wizard as 1.0. Don't judge. I hate to be the guy who has to take the...
Who wrote that?
It's all my fault.
I'm pretty sure that was you, right?
All right, so what this does is it just does a union, it creates a new object, and now you have, when you do an export of GPO or DCM or any of that, it's both those guys combined.
What about unsupported settings?
So,
I imported one from EVO that has stuff that you don't
Yep.
mark. Does that get merged?
yes, it will. The only way, what I didn't show you, you just keyed off a point I never showed you. So, yes, it does if you're merging two GPOs. But what if you are merging a Windows 7 thing with an IE8 thing where there's no overlap? So we do drop some things there, which I didn't mention to you. So let me come here. So sit on this GPO. You see this verb over here called associate. We got the idea that when people import a GPO, they actually want to tie it to a product in our tool. If you don't tie a GPO to a product, You can't export it to SCAP or DCM. SCAP and DCM require a product. That's because those formats require you to declare what the product is in that file. So we had to give you this verb because you can't just take a GPO and export it to a DCM. There's not enough information. So we make you say, tell us the product that you want to tie this to. So to answer your question, when you tie it to a product, you drop the things that don't apply to that product. So if you do a merge with a associated baseline, all that stuff is gone. If you merge two GPOs, they'll stay. It'll stay. If you find that that's different, that's a bug. Oh, I'm sorry. I lost track of where you were. There you are. So I would encourage you to download the CTP and email us if you don't. Vince.
I have a comment on the merge.
You have a comment on merge?
Yes. When you merge, it comes up with a really long, crazy name.
Okay.
Why can't we change that?
Vince, what? Vince works at Microsoft. Vince, why haven't you emailed me before my live presentation in front of people that don't work at Microsoft? But thank you. Still a valid point, because you do have to scroll this thing all the way over.
Yeah, because one day I was
Here's the merge, by the way. Here's what Vince is talking about. Look at that.
I was taking all the USGCPs and merging them into one, and I came up with this thing with like.
Yeah, it grows.
That's darn ugly. Okay.
Longer and longer.
Well, how about if we give you a prompt and you just name it?
That would be nice.
All right. Done.
We can suggest a name.
You can
rename it if they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now actually, I actually want to do something I told Jose I wouldn't do. Dude, can you come up and show them local GPO and tell them why they would care? So this is Jose. Works on a coworker.
Jose Maldonado.
Excuse me, Jose Maldonado. He wrote a cool part of our solution that I want to show off. And here I'll mic you.
You're bailing on this.
Actually, when the author's in the room, I'd rather an author. Go ahead.
Am I on? All right. So local GPO, we added it to the install of SCM. It's separate from the tool, right? So everything that Jeff has showed you produces exports that can be used elsewhere, right? But SCM itself doesn't actually go and touch any Active Directories. It doesn't actually go and touch any machines. We use the exports, the GPO backups or the DCM packs to do the magic that the tool exports, right? But of course, GPOs are something that work with domain joined machines. So we've always had ways of getting our guidance deployed to standalone machines. So the first purpose of local GPO was to have a way of taking the exports from the tool and being able to apply them to a local machine. So did you still keep those right? So one of the things that you can do with local GPO, its first main purpose, is point it to a GPO backup, right? One that has come from a GPO that's been backed up or one that's been exported from SCM. And with a pretty simple command line, except for the big long GUID, that's why Jeff had typed that in there already, you're able to then take that and apply that GPO directly to the local policy of this machine. Right? And it's not just the INF-based settings, but also any of the administrative template settings and all the audit settings. So pretty much anything that you can do through group policy would apply to that local policy. Right? So again, it's just a way of being able to take that configuration that we're recommending and apply it locally. A lot of the users then take those configs and want to test them. Right? So after they've applied our GPO to that local policy, they then open up GPEdit, right, and start changing and modifying other settings just as they would in group policy and start evaluating and testing the behavior of that machine. So one of the first requests we got is that now that I can apply that GPO directly to a machine, I want to be able to export that config. So we also have that capability in this tool. And what this will do, I think we have a folder right here. Notice there's just one GPO backup in there. With that export switch that I've added to the end of it, when I run it, it actually takes that local policy of the machine and creates a GPO backup, just the same as you could get from a GPO in Active Directory, but this one's based on that local config of the machine. So again, after you've actually tinkered with that local policy, gotten it to be exactly like you want, and the machine is behaving as you expect, you can export that config. And now you have it in a GPO backup that can be used in a number of ways, right? It can be put into a GPO. It can be imported into SCM and compared against a baseline that we have in there. Of course, it can also be taken to another machine and applied to a different machine so that you can maintain that config across multiple machines. Yep.
Is that documented somewhere?
Not really. That's why we're kind of showing it here.
Okay.
It is. There is some documentation in our tool.
I was going to say, tell them about the MDT aspect. Because
Right. So one of the things, this is the local GPO version we have here is our original one. One of the features that we've actually built into the release that will come out in the next CTP is what we're calling a GPO pack today. And it's basically the same type of export. It would look just like a GPO backup, but it has a couple extra little files in there that let you then just double-click one file or call one file from any type of script, and it applies that config. So instead of you having to take this local GPO and install it elsewhere, and then take that GPO backup and copy it to another machine and run it there, you can just take this real small little group of files and think of it as a self-contained GPO backup.
like a self-extracting exe or something.
Right. So what that will be able to be used is with MDT task sequencer, you'd be able to call these from within those tasks and have these apply to configs on the fly.
Dude, that guy's really excited.
Yeah, I saw that. Right. So
We're gonna get a
when we light up that scenario, this tool will get a little more exposure because in our V1 it was kind of buried into the tool. We're going to do a few things, I think, like install it by default on the machine that you put SEM on and document it a little more because it's been there all along, and yes, it's been hidden and poorly documented. But again, it lights up a real powerful scenario in the way that you can take what's in the tool, apply it locally, export it, bring it into the tool, be able to compare it, keep gold standards. Think of one real big scenario is you could take all GPOs that you have, right, apply them in the desired order to one machine, and export it. Now you have a GPO backup that's merged just the same way as you could within the tool. Right?
He's excited again.
You have a question?
There was a question back.
Okay.
So if I understand,
All right.
because I've inherited an environment and a bunch of images which they've been applying second, INF files to.
Right.
No documentation.
Right.
So in theory, I could load SEM on base image, on one base image.
On any machine. It doesn't have to be on that base image.
Well, we didn't.
I'm trying to find out what's on there.
Right. All you need is local GPO.
Right, so I
Right.
can do local GPO, I can
Yep.
export it out, and then I can see, and then I can compare it to a baseline.
Jose
Right.
specifically put local GPO in an MSI by itself.
Right.
You can install local GPO all the way down to Windows 2000,
Right.
and it works.
Right. So you wouldn't have to take that reference machine and put the entire SEM tool. You just need the little piece of it and put it on.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Right.
figure out what the hell it is, there's no documentation.
Yeah.
Right. And then again, it's one thing to make clear, what it exports into that GPMC backup or that GPO backup is anything configured locally, right? So it doesn't necessarily take anything that's coming from group policy. Some of the settings will get put in there. Some of the INF settings would go configured locally on that machine. It would spit out. It would get in there. Yeah, local policy. All the settings that are in local policy. So it's both things, right? So when you open GPEdit and you look at anything that's under administrative templates or under security settings, all the account policies, audit policies, firewall policies, all those things would get put in there.
Yeah, so there's a couple gaps remaining. One is if people have been managing your systems by applying .reg files and pushing stuff directly into the registry instead of going through policy, I don't think we have anything that picks those up right now.
No.
And also, I would think if you're using SecEdit to do the export of the security policies, there's some things that SecEdit export does not pick up that you can apply with SecEdit
Right.
to go in. So,
Right.
so it doesn't get everything. And those are hard to do.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that.
All right.
Aaron's got you
I
up.
have to give Aaron props
Brave.
because he's helped us out many times in the past. So my question is, how does this new tool compare with your set LGPO tools from?
Yeah, they're very similar tools. We actually use some of the same methods that Aaron created into part of what we use to apply. But a lot of what this tool does is use the same things that are built into Windows to apply the settings. But
Yeah,
Aaron,
we kind of developed the tools independently, and mine were primarily focused on FDCC and USGCB. But there is a fair amount of overlap. One thing they do have, the export to a GPO backup. My tools don't do that at all. So,
Right. And some of the other...
There's some overlap. There's some overlap. I think there's probably some features in my local group policy tools that may give you a little more granular control and things like that. So, for example, if you want to create administrative templates, you can actually do it with a text file instead of with having to actually create a policy in a GPO somewhere.
Right. One of the things that this has as well that it's worth pointing out is that after you've applied a bunch of things to a machine, you might get it to a state that you maybe don't quite remember what you did or you don't like what you did. It has the ability to reset the machine's config to the out-of-the-box defaults. But you got to be careful because you can...
Oh, that got applause.
Yeah.
So it actually, basically whacks the entire local policy and makes it as close as it can to what came out of the box, right? But you could, like I've done it where I've disabled my admin account, for example, on a machine. So you have to be careful. And the same thing with applying GPOs locally is it doesn't care where that GPO came from, right? So I can take something that was completely designed for XP and throw it on an R2 server, and who knows what would happen in that. Actually, no. So the question was, does the reset take care of reverting Windows 2000? It doesn't. It's from XP forward. So XP 03, Vista in 08, and Windows 7 and R2.
Does that restore file and registry permissions if you applied legacy security guidance from certain third parties and whacked all the file and registry permissions throughout the system? Does it restore those?
Right. No, it just messes with the policy itself.
Only.
So it
Okay.
restores the policy to its original defaults. Right. So it tells you to reboot. Some of the things wouldn't take effect until you reboot it and such. Right.
All right.
All right. Was that helpful?
Yes. Thank you.
Being cool.
I told him I wasn't going to do that, but I then did it. I did it anyway. All right, so just a few more things, and then we'll open it up for wide Q&A. There's a couple things I skipped, which I shouldn't have done. Tom will kill me. So
Afterwards.
yes. So there's something called there's something we do called threats and countermeasures. So this is content that my team authors, and then we go and vet it with the product team who owns the product. So this is on a per setting basis. So let's look at the setting I'm looking at. Account, lockout duration, right? And you scroll down here, there's 3 categories of stuff: vulnerability, potential impact, and countermeasure. So this content is written on a per setting basis and gives you details on why Microsoft advises setting or value foo versus setting foo bar. The value to you is this is part of your research. I would consider it, as you're digging into why Microsoft said 5 versus 15, you can read why the authors of that baseline literally made that decision. That's the goal of this area. Would anybody ever find that useful? Yeah. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Can you what?
You're running your policy, you're writing up your security hardening guide, your policy for your company, that would be perfect to just pull right into that policy, call out, we declare this setting, and this is why.
I agree. So to restate what he said, it's great. It's a great set of content to justify why you made decision X, right? When you're rolling it up in a doc.
Yeah. To document it along
Right.
the way, right?
So the thing that we haven't also gotten rid of, because of the value, is the fact that we still ship the security guides as a part of the baseline. So the guides that we were talking about in the beginning that are 300 plus pages, we've greatly reduced that format, but we're still producing that content. There are still things, correct me if I'm wrong, there's still things in the guide.
You're wrong.
I haven't even finished.
All right.
There's still things in the guide that are not in the baseline, the settings themselves, right?
Yes.
There's okay.
So we'll cover features that we don't have a specific recommendation for, where it's something that's very specific to your environment. So we will give some information on that so that you can still make a decision, but it's not something we include as far as a recommended value.
Okay.
Right? So yeah, it does include that.
So attachments, threats and countermeasures. Tom, anything I glossed over? We'll open Q&A, and I'll keep the app running if people want to dig in. There's a few other things.
Other things we'll cover.
Yeah.
All right. So I know that now that you've seen the next version of SCM, another question we always get, and we want to certainly have a chance to answer this, is what's coming next? That's actually my team, and what my team is doing is building these baselines that will work within the new version of the tool. So we have several things that need to happen and need to be done to our current baselines. It's an upgrade because there were some features, some new data that was added that we want to be able to expose in the tool. So all the baselines we've done in the past that we've released will now be upgraded. They'll work in this version 2. We also have Internet Explorer 9 that's now been released, so we'll be creating the baseline for that, and that will come out. We're doing Exchange 2010 right now. We have a beta out of Exchange 2007. We have betas out of SQL Server, both 2008 and R2. And as we move into the future, there's many other products that we want to now start to look at and configure baselines for. Some of them are a little unique for us. They're not maybe group policy centered. And so we're developing new capabilities in the tool to be able to handle that. But products like SharePoint, System Center products, so there's a whole list of products there. Forefront products, Link.
So any gut reactions on this, on what we... Vince again. Here we go.
I would tell you that you need to add
Project Server.
Server.
I'm getting a lot of need for that.
Okay. Got it?
I got it.
See, that's not me. Luckily, I get to point at Tom.
Yeah. Look how quickly you pointed over. All right, you want to talk about
Yes.
some of the futures of SCM?
So I'm surprised nobody is asked. I'm giving time frames here because I don't want to disappoint anybody if the date shifts a little bit. But right now we're preparing for the beta. Jose said CTP. We're going to come forward with. We were debating another CTP or a beta. We're going to go with a beta. So the CTP's out on the blog, which will give you the link. We're going to do a beta that's going to have the stuff, add a setting, delete a setting, all this stuff that we showed today, the new UI. So that's coming out. We're trying to push that out as soon as we possibly can. We took all the feedback, like Vince was talking, USGCB, FDCC. So we got a ton of feedback on the CTP that some of those baselines from the USGCB won't import. We fixed those bugs. The beta has those fixes in it. I get an email about every 2 hours, when do we release that build? So we are working very hard to get that out. And then we'll release it, SCM 2.0. After we get the beta feedback, fix the bugs, we'll get it right out the door. So we're very close. We're like a week away from code complete of SCM 2.0, despite the crashes and asserts that you saw on this, which never happened in my office, I'll say again. All right, so SCMV next. So just a couple of things I wanted to expose was we're going to support, we're looking at support of, that's why I said possibilities, but we're pretty sure we're going to do SCCM, DCM 2012, so we'll support that new DCM format that's coming out. Also, we're looking heavily into, does this app make sense in the cloud? Do you really need to install a local SQL server and a .NET app on your machine to look at this content? Is that really required? So I was going to show just a quick, if you can switch over to C, just a quick proof of concept that I wrote in a weekend. So it's not feature complete, it's read-only, don't freak out. But this is our content sitting in Azure. And as you dig into it, it loads on the fly. And as far as I went is just kind of exposing the setting details. But this kind of showed the team that, yes, you can host your stuff up here. It could be useful. The cool thing about this is you decide you want to look at our guidance. You can go there in 2 seconds, install nothing. And if you have Silverlight, it just works. Then the first question I get is, yeah, but when I customize this, I don't want that in the cloud. So that's what we're looking at very closely on. We know customers would want their baselines local, and Microsoft stuff would be in the cloud. So that's what we're thinking right now. But feel free to influence us. We're going to give you, my email was in the beginning. We'll give you our general alias, but influence where you see this going. Because once we do this, I don't know how many people are developers in the audience. Once we do this, you'll have an API. So in your own apps, or if you're a consultant, you could build a solution and not even use our tool, but get a pipeline to our content with an Azure WCF service or something like that, right? Question?
Yeah.
All right, he's going to use the mic.
Yeah. Is there any chance in the future to put all this Microsoft security recommendations just into the ADMX file, so we don't have to have a separate utility, and all the recommendations are right there in front of you in the GPMC.
Interesting.
I love the tool. The tool's great. I've seen what it can do. But for me to go back and forth and manage between the utility and what I'm doing in production.
You want to live, what you're telling
Live
me
in one place.
is you want to live in GPEdit, is what
I
you're saying.
would. I would rather live in one place.
Yeah, but doesn't the fact that it looks like 1980 bother you at all? I'm kidding.
If you can make that look more like Belfast, I don't care.
Is the GP team in the room? I probably just killed myself. No? Okay, good. I haven't heard that before. Yeah. We haven't really talked about is how PowerShell focused the world seems to be going, and how we're looking at how we integrate tightly with PowerShell and the tool, and how the things that ADMX has a finite set of things, and then you look at Exchange Server, there's no ADMX. There's all PowerShell.
All PowerShell commandlets.
So our team who produces this content in the tool is, I'm not saying that we're going to continue to support ADMX forever, but we see products, server workloads going to PowerShell, so we see ourselves leaning that way to be able to produce baselines on that content.
So, as far as PowerShell stuff goes, that's great. Really small shops for like I'm the only network admin. To go from a GUI to only PowerShell, really
Aha.
takes up so much.
I agree with you.
Yep.
So PowerShell being command line and developer focused.
Yeah.
So we intend. So hold on, I'm jumping because I'm excited. So we intend to host PowerShell in our tool, never expose to you the script. You click a button, it will change the script, and it'll just export out, and there you go. There's signed
So you
script.
don't have to have the dev back.
But without the sound
dev
effect.
focus.
Without the sound effect.
I thought we were going to put that in.
So I don't know if I answered your ADMX question but
I think you have, but
okay. It isn't the direction I see us going. I'm sorry to take you out of GPEdit. I'm really sorry to make you look at something else.
no. Before I was looking at an Excel spreadsheet and going back to GPEdit. Now I'm looking at this utility.
See, give us a chance. Yes.
Except the thing is, you can do the editing here, create the content, and then just import it in. You don't need to set the settings manually. I think that's one of the most exciting things about this product is that it used to be for prescriptive guidance, you always started with an Excel spreadsheet. And if you needed to make changes, you made it to an Excel spreadsheet. And then when you wanted to actually apply that anywhere, you had to go in manually. And then if you wanted to verify that you didn't make any mistakes, you had to do that manually. Now you can still have an Excel spreadsheet, but it's an artifact because all the information is in one central place. All the threats and countermeasures.
I'm surprised.
All the possible settings.
I'm surprised no one's asked me in the room, why can't you import an Excel spreadsheet and convert the values into...
I don't want the Excel
spreadsheet. You don't want it? Good, because I don't want to do that feature.
I just want one place.
One
place.
place.
I was happy to see there was something new coming out. I was thinking I was getting away from Excel, but in reality, I'm still with the two different processes. I understand that you can import a GPO in and export it out and then push it into production. But when I have my policies out in production, I may have the same setting in different OUs in different policies, and I don't want to replicate that through the whole SCM console.
I see.
So it's going to be very administrative for me, and it always has been. But it's just a suggestion. If I had it in the GPMC to say there's a Microsoft practice, hey, business unit in Seattle, here's what you have.
So we sit with the GP team a lot. I'd be glad to take that to the owner of the GPMC and the GPEdit tool. I don't actually think it's a bad idea. I would love if you were in GPEdit, you could see our threats and countermeasures in there. I agree with you. That would be sweet.
And then that's mainly what
we
I'm
produce the
for.
content. It's there. I wish you could see it in there. I'll put that feedback in.
Okay.
You had a...
Yeah, I actually had a comment on that. So I actually think this is a good tool because they've got lower admins. This is a great way to offload it, let them play with it, do whatever they want to do with it, look at it, and then import it back in, and then the higher level admin can actually implement it. So having the separation between dev test, so to speak, and what you're doing in production is a good thing, I would say.
Cool. Go ahead, Tom.
So Obviously, we want to influence the world with this tool. But
Yep.
we have a small audience here. We obviously can't do a presentation like this for everybody that comes to Tech Ed. So these are some calls to action. We want you to come away with, if nothing else, that the SCM tool is out there.
Yep.
It's free, and you can go to that first link there and get more
In
information.
fact, if I were to rank importance, the first important thing is Microsoft.com SCM. That's real easy. Next one is the blog, because the blog will let you get the CTP of V2. Oh, but people are snapshotting it. And the third most important thing is secwish@microsoft.com. That is the entire team that we're on. It gets that email. We triage them daily, weekly, and that's where when you find a setting you don't like the value, when you see a baseline that doesn't exist,
When you have
say
an
that-
idea
when you
for
when you
something
think
new.
of me and you say, boy, that UI really stinks, that's where you can either send it to me directly or send it there.
And both our emails are in the back.
We'll go back to the first slide and put our emails back up. So actually, we want to open it up. We want to open it up for questions. I also want to bring up our boss, Kelly. I didn't tell you we were going to do this, but come on up. Kelly is Tom and I's boss and Jose's boss. She owns the SCM tool, all the baselines, all the content, and I like to put her on the spot.
Thanks, Jeff.
So any questions, or can I show you something in the tool, or, okay.
You got to link the third-party baselines. Are anybody producing them yet?
The question was, anybody producing third-party baselines?
Like the government, really.
Right. So do you want to take that one?
We're working with the Department of Defense to see if they want to sign their cabs and put them inside of SEM, and today it looks interesting to them.
Do we want to? Basically, we made it so that anybody can sign those cabs. Anybody can export those cabs from the tool. Anybody can sign them, and then SCM will read the signature in the cab, and then it'll go. If you go back to C, I didn't show this part of the UI, but if you look on the lower left, anything that comes in like that goes under that node. And what I actually wanted to do is when we read the signature of the cab, let's say it says DISA, I want the tree view to show DISA. So you actually see third party as the root, DISA underneath that, and then all the baselines that DISA's produced. That's kind of where we see that going there. We think with SCM 2.0 adding GPO import that the tool will take off. We have over 100,000 downloads now, which is relatively light, I think. Of course, we want 1 million. And with GPO import, we think that takes us to the next level of usefulness with getting people's content into this thing. Good question. Go ahead.
Local GPO standalone.
Standalone tool, yeah, local GPO.
When that's released, what's it going to be called? Or is that going to be integrated as part of?
Jose, what are you going to call it, dude? Local GPO. So
stick with it.
We ship. So we ship local GPO in SCM 1.0 today. When 2.0, the 2.0 CTP has it in there as well. When SCM v2 goes to beta and RTW, a new version will be in it as well.
And it will be well documented.
Yes, to the guy in the was that the guy in the yellow shirt? Yeah. So she's going to order that we well document it. Good question.
Another one at the back there.
We're considering implementing the AGPM right now. Is there a workflow where you could, make your changes, bring them in, let somebody review, approve, and implement?
Great. Oh. So AGPM, the tool that you get through the MDOP.
Right.
So right now, those tools, do you want to field this?
I can. So we've worked with that team. We don't plan on, from an SCM standpoint, adding workflow to that. That is something that you get from MDOP and the workflow of that being a feature. We work closely with them. There is overlap from a feature set, but that's one of the things that stand apart with their tool set. Again, this tool is free, fully supported.
Yeah, I didn't actually mention it's free. The content's free and the tool. Anyone else? Oh, cool.
So you showed the compare, and there was a save results tab.
Oh, I love this question. Keep going.
So I want something useful I can give to my auditor as a report.
Okay, so you're right. The compare results right now go to an XML file that is 100% not useful. We want to, when you click that button, go to an Excel spreadsheet. We want
Yeah,
the
or even just a formatted report, a nice looking report. that I can-
HTML report. Okay.
Yeah, that I can hand to an auditor and say, here's the difference.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
Perfect feedback. Thank you. All right. Did anybody not get anything asked? Is anybody, is the general feeling that you guys like, that you all like this tool? Yes! All right.
Cool.
Woohoo!
We had a good influence.
Go ahead.
You almost made me cry. I wish I had this a couple years ago. So
Oh,
thank you.
You're welcome.
I was just wondering if you're going to be updating the threats and countermeasure information outside of the release cycle.
Oh, that's
the
a good
product.
question.
So typically everything we've done is with the baseline, right? And we've always done it that way.
I think the question is, so the threats and countermeasures data gets updated in a cycle for the baseline of the product. So that's looked at. So if there are bugs in any of our threats and countermeasures, we've given us feedback, it gets addressed and comes out with a new version of that baseline. And those release not in the same timeline as the tool. They are developed and they're continually added to that portfolio of products, and it will continue to increase.
Did that answer it? So it is orthogonal, by the way. The tool development and the baseline development is separate. Same team,
Right.
separate release cycles.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead. Yes, Tom, what is the timeline for Exchange 2007?
Put me on a spot. So there's a beta out right now of Exchange 2007. We're working on Exchange 2010. Those will be coming out in the next few months, slightly after the beta, because we have
Right.
other baselines. We have 13 baselines. We're in process of development right now. So we're releasing them in waves. We have a first wave that will be coming with the beta, and Exchange is the next as a part of that. So Exchange 2010 and 2007. We'll have betas of those as well.
So August, September
August.
time frame
Yeah.
for Exchange and SQL.
Okay.
And SQL.
You want to go back to the first slides in case they want our email? Oh, yeah. He's like, get off stage, dude. All right. All right. Well, thanks, everybody.